Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with this very interesting release. This is a brand new Imaginext Jurassic World Baryonyx that had come out. It's actually been out for maybe a month or two, and I've been eyeing it up on Amazon the entire time, debating whether I should grab it or not. Is it worth it? Because it's Imaginext, and I'm not a big fan of Imaginext, but I do kind of like their stuff. But at the same time, like, it looked kind of cool, but looked kind of silly. So I just was like going back and forth for so long. But it recently went on sale. It's originally $30 retail, but it went on sale for like $23 or something like that. So I'm like, you know what? I guess I'll just go ahead and grab it while it's a little bit cheaper. At the very least, it'll give me a fun review and kind of a cool looking Baryonyx. So we now have it here to take a look at. So as you can see, the packaging is pretty much as it usually is when it comes to Imaginext. We've got the blue and beta down here, and then once we turn it around, you can kind of see an image here giving you like a sneak peek of the way it apparently growls and glows, and then some more images and stuff at the bottom. So let's go ahead, pop it out of the box, and check it out. So here is our Baryonyx, and we can see again outside of the packaging, it looks pretty much as it did inside the packaging, just now free of its cardboard restraint. But you can see again, it looks pretty cool. When it comes to an Imaginext figure, I will say it's got probably one of the nicer looking head sculpts for sure. It does, of course, still have the very exaggerated, very Imaginext kind of childlike look, but it at the same time does look kind of cool, and my camera apparently doesn't want to deal with the colors of this one. But if we start up here in the head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt looks pretty decent overall. It's also got some nice texturing to it. If you get nice and close, you can see the texturing looks really, really highly detailed for being Imaginext. There's also a bluish tone that does have a translucency to it, as well as a kind of a brighter blue speckling that you see moving through pretty much everywhere and anywhere you see the darker blue. So moving through the body, you can see that darker blue, allowing that lighter kind of brighter blue there to really pop on the figure, which does look pretty cool. But again, the overall detailing in the face looks fairly nice. We do have a glass eye look going on for this one with a yellow and a black pupil. Not really much in the way of coloration there in the eye, but we do at least have the glass eye, which does look better than the Hammond Collection glass eyes. It does, of course, have an articulated jaw. We can see the teeth, of course, are all sculpted together, kind of goofy looking as well, but it could be worse. They're also painted with an off-white and do have a nice kind of satin look to them, as well as the inside of the mouth. Again, has that kind of gloss coat going on. You can see the tongue in there. It's all painted with a pink, at least as far as the tongue and the skin stretching there on the side of the mouth. But when you look at the inside of the mouth and the upper side, it's the same color as the teeth. So obviously that's one solid piece that goes in up there. Leading along the top of the head, though, we can see we actually have this really cool yellowish striping. And this yellow pattern moves down along the back of the dinosaur all the way out into the tail, not all the way, but it does lead out into the tail a little ways, and considering the coloration of the dinosaur primarily is a dark blue, it looks pretty cool. Like, it really pops moving along the top of the Baryonyx. We also have a tan or like a light brown sort of tone for the lower side of the dinosaur, and you can see when we get nice and close, that skin texture as well, again, looks pretty good. For Imaginext, I feel like they really quite upped their game when it comes to the fine detail of this figure. Moving back into the neck, we can see again the detail continues to look pretty nice, pretty crisp overall. Definitely impressive fine detail, as well as again the translucent darker blue, and then the brownish tone for the lower body here. Sadly, when it comes to Imaginext, they are not above screw holes, which we can see a whole bunch of them moving down along the underside, as well as the area for the sound to escape from the battery compartment, all of that stuff. There's obviously an articulated neck, which I think has something to do with the action features, so we'll wait until we get to that point. Moving back, we can see an osteoderm row here picking up and following along, basically starting at the bottom of the neck and then leading all the way out into the tail a little ways. Leading into the arms, we can see the arms are a brighter blue, but again, look at how good the actual scale detail, there we go, look at how good the actual scale detail is on this figure. It's almost like an Imaginext figure I could imagine a repaint looking good on, potentially anyway. But the detail is good enough that you could give this a more highly detailed paint job and it wouldn't look so bad. It's obviously going to still look goofy because it has like the really silly Imaginext proportions and stuff, which we can definitely see here in the arm leading down into the hands. It's like super short and kind of stocky and everything. But we've got like the muscle definition kind of shining there. And we can see a satin shine for the nails. No actual nail paint, but again, a little bit of a shine there for the nails, which does help to differentiate it from the hand and everything. Unfortunately, the undersides of the arms and the undersides of the feet are hollow, which again is something you usually see on Imaginext figures. You do have articulation though, which is a plus, so you can get those arms almost looping all the way around, and you do also have leg articulation, which you can see has an annoyingly loud noise, but can articulate fairly decently. As you move down into the legs, we've got a few kind of bumpy or almost osteoderms, as well as finer skin texture throughout, which is quite a bit different compared to what we see through the rest of the figure. It's a very different style skin texture as you move down here into the leg. We've obviously again got that brighter blue like we have in the arms, and as you lead down you can make out the muscle definition, a huge calf muscle leading down. We've got the knee right there, and then we move down into the feet. Again, we have that satin shine for the nails. The feet are gigantic. Of course it's Imaginext, so it's not really a big deal, but like when we complain about clown feet on the Mattel figures at times, well, what does that make these? Because those feet are huge. They're even bigger than what you would expect for clown feet. But again, the insides of the legs are hollow as well, sadly. But as we move out into the tail, here's the area that I think I dislike the most about this figure, but it's kind of to be expected with Imaginext. We've got a super, super short tail, like ridiculously short, but we do still have, again, that translucent blue moving out. We have a little curve toward the end of the tail, and then again the brown moving along the underside, as well as this little lever here, which activates the action feature. Of course, you're going to see the same thing again on both sides. No real difference from side to side when it comes to this one. So I think I'm going to dim the lights just a little bit, just a tad, so we can kind of get a feel for the light up aspect. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So that's something interesting about this. If you leave the... Alright, let's stop now. If we leave the button held in, it just keeps repeating the same sound, but we can obviously see the jaw opens and the neck moves down into like an attacking, biting action feature, and we've got quite a few different sounds for it. So we're going to go ahead... Okay. Alright, calm down a second again. We're going to go ahead and turn the lights off entirely so that we can get a feel again for the lights on the figure. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Definitely looks really neat once you actually have the lights off entirely. Especially with the way that it glows there in the eyes. Definitely a really fun light up feature for this figure. As far as the size goes, it's actually quite sizable, and I think we're going to turn it because the tail kind of curves over here, so that'll be a little easier to measure it. But for a length from the tail to the snout, about 13.5 inches, or a little bit over 34 centimeters. And then for a height, obviously the highest point would be the head, about just shy of 7.5 inches, or around 19 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being, and you can see this Baryonyx is actually pretty big. Definitely one of the larger Imaginext figures that I now have in my collection. Obviously not quite as large as, like, the Spinosaurus or the Giganotosaurus, which is ridiculously huge, or anything like that, but still pretty decently sized overall. And for a comparison next to a standard Wild Roar size range, Roarivore size range Mattel release, here is the Majungasaurus, which you can see again, the Baryonyx is quite a bit larger than. And when we bring in the Mattel Extreme Chompin' T-Rex, or Extreme Damage T-Rex, whatever you'd like to call that one, we can still see that this Baryonyx is kind of big next to it, so quite nicely holding its own overall in size without being overly gigantic. Again, it's not huge, but it's pretty nicely sized. And if we actually bring in an Imaginext human being, you can see again how they size up next to the Baryonyx, obviously. Quite a bit of difference in size. And even though it's still in box, just in case you happen to have this one, for one final comparison, we actually have the Imaginext Indoraptor here next to the Baryonyx, showing you that the Baryonyx is, again, quite a bit larger than the Indoraptor is. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Growl Glow, I think it was called, Baryonyx, again, Imaginext Baryonyx, is kind of fun, honestly. I really do enjoy the Imaginext figures, kind of like a guilty pleasure, but I'm not overly in love with them. Like, there are certain figures that when they come out, I think, okay, that one's pretty neat, I gotta grab that one. This one, for some reason, although looking like one of the cooler versions of an Imaginext release that has come out, I, for some reason, was just so conflicted as to whether or not I should purchase. It took me quite a while. Like, I could have had this review done well over a month ago had I actually pulled the trigger, but it wasn't until I was really enticed to buy it once it kind of dropped in price a little bit, and then I thought, all right, I'll give it a shot, and I'm pretty happy to have it here, just because it is a pretty fun figure. It's neat to have a Baryonyx in this line, in the Imaginext line, and when it comes to Imaginext, you know, their figures aren't always incredibly highly detailed, but the fine detail of this one is pretty decently done. I also like that although it is very much so exaggerated and very Imaginext looking, it still kind of resembles a Baryonyx from Jurassic World. Again, a lot of the time the Imaginext figures are so goofy looking and so out there, they don't really even resemble the dinosaurs they're meant to represent. But this time I feel like, at least as far as the head sculpt goes, like, it looks okay. It's also got some fun playability with a little articulation here and there, but it as well has the ability to, again, pull the little lever, and we have some pretty neat light up effects for the figure, as well as some fun noises and a chomping and neck moving action features. So it's got mostly everything at least a kid would want. You know, you've got articulation, a pretty cool appearance, some light up aspects to it, you've got some sounds and an action feature. Like, you've got a lot going for this Baryonyx. So if you have a younger kid in the house, a grandkid, you know, a brother, sister, doesn't matter. If they're into dinosaurs, I definitely think if they're younger, they'll really enjoy this figure. But even as an adult collector, I think it's kind of fun, honestly, and not a half bad purchase if you like exaggerated kind of goofy dinosaurs anyway. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine on Amazon.com. I don't know if the deal's still going on, but if it is, again, grab it while it lasts, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.